Before watching the video, don't forget to subscribe the channel and enable bell notification to never miss an update from us.
Hello everyone and welcome to Entri channel. This is Ashima Shukla and this is a video about current affairs. So in this video we're going to talk about the news events that have happened recently and might impact our examination in form of questions, right? So let's begin the discussion. Before we begin, I would like to inform you the discussion is going to be more of like in a descriptive manner. That is, we're going to have a descriptive or a detailed discussion, a bit of detailed discussion where all the facts are going to be considered, and we're going to try to cover as many news events as possible in as less time as possible, right? So let's begin on with the first news event, that is Gujarat Distributed Area Act Amendment Bill 2019. So this bill had been passed in Gujarat in 2019, but recently the President of India, Ramnath Kovind, has accepted it or has given his assent to this bill, right? So what is going to be in this bill? It will first of all prohibit transfer of assets, that is immovable property, in disturbed areas. So disturbed areas are those areas basically which are which have had communal riots. A lot of communal riots have happened in that area. So those areas are considered as disturbed areas, and in those areas the property will not be movable. That is, it cannot be transferred from one person to another until and unless the collector or the DM gives assent to it. It will not be able to be transferred. Because why this is going to be there? Because it arises a lot of communal riots. So communal riots and religious riots. So a lot of these things have been happening in Gujarat in a lot of time, and therefore these disturbed areas are going to have a restriction on moving of property, right? Now, Gujarat prohibition of transfer of immovable property and provision for protection of tenants from eviction from the premises in Disturbed Areas Act is of 1991, which was earlier there, which was also known as Disturbed Areas Act. Who declares a disturbed area? It is declared by the district collector, and it is completely based on the communal riots that have happened in the area. How many disturbed areas are there in Gujarat recently? So basically Vadodara, Ahmedabad, Surat, Godhra, Bharuch, Kapadwani, Surat. These are the few places which have been marked as or marked under Disturbed Area Act, right? In 1986, this act was introduced and then it was implemented in 1991. 1986, it was introduced for Ahmedabad when there were continuous riots going on. Now, what if someone does that? Even after the act has been passed, what if someone still transfers the property? In that case, there's going to be fine of 1 lakh rupees. So fine, as a penalty, fine is going to be of 1 lakh rupees or 10% of the amount of property. So either 1 lakh or 10% of the value of the property, whichever property has been transferred. Apart from that, there's imprisonment of 3 to 5 years because it is going to be an illegal one, right? So until and unless the collector approves it, it cannot be transferred, right? Moving to the next one, Regional Raw Drug Repository has been announced recently for the Ministry of Ayush. So for Ayush, it has been opened. Now, what does Ayush stand for? Ayush is Ayurveda, Yoga and Naturopathy, Unani, Siddha and Homeopathy. That is the full form of the Ministry of Ayush which you hear of, which is currently under Shripad Nayak. Where is this going to be established? So Regional Raw Depository will be established at National Institute of Siddha in Chennai. And the important, it is very important from the National Ayush Mission. And what is National Ayush Mission? That mission is basically aimed at bringing the Ayurveda and all these, cultural and traditional practices of India to a major role. That is to bring them in a front role. Even at the time of COVID, we have seen that Ayurveda has helped a lot, right, for providing an alternative course of medication as well as a healthy course of medication comparatively. And that is why this whole platform of Ayush is going to be lifted. Now, what happens in a raw drug repository, that is the growth of all the plants and herbs that are required, that is going to be taken care of by this repository over here, right? Now, apart from this, Drugs and Cosmetics Act of 1940 is an important one. Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1941. Or it's 40, I guess, 1940. Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1940 is the one which basically checks about that whether the practices are good or not, manufacturing is going on good or not. So this is an important act which you need to take care of. Right now, when was Ayush Mission launched or Ayush Ministry formed? It was launched in 12th five-year plan, right? And National Ayush Mission was finally approved in 2020. Where has it gone? Yeah, National Ayush Mission was formed in, or it was launched in March 2020, when at the time of COVID, we needed an alternative course of medication, right? National Raw Drug Repository has been formed and Regional Raw Drug Repository. Both of them have been initiated by National Medical Plant Board. So National Raw Drug Repository and Regional Raw Drug Repository, both are the components of or initiations of National Medicinal Plant Board. Now, INAI initiative is another one which we need to look at. INAI stands for Intel Artificial Intelligence, and this has been launched along with Telangana government. It has a Telangana government, Intel, and it has International Institute of Information Technology or IIIT, IIT Hyderabad. These are the major components of this INAI initiative, and Public Health Foundation of India is also a part of it. And when was it announced? INAI initiative was announced in Artificial Intelligence 2020 Virtual Summit, which was held on 13th of October. Now, what is there? Now, with the name, we can guess up that the idea is basically to promote artificial intelligence, bring it on a national level research center. So it is also working to bring national level research center. Its basic idea is to bring national level research center for artificial intelligence and apply that artificial intelligence to improve the quality of life, to improve the assets at a national level, assets like computing infrastructure, data infrastructure, institutions. So all of these are which are associated with artificial intelligence. That is the basic purpose of it. And IIIT Hyderabad is going to bring this initiative into force. Right now, who has created this artificial intelligence for a national strategy? This is the work of the think tank of India, that is Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog is the one which is behind bringing artificial intelligence into mainstream. Telangana government is promoting artificial intelligence at a high scale. It has brought blockchain technology at a state level, and artificial intelligence year was celebrated for 2020, and that is why Telangana government is the one which has tied up over here. Next, European Union has issued sanctions against Russia and Belarus recently. Russia is a major one because it is a more recent one, and it has been sanctioned for poisoning the opposition leader Alexei Navalny. So this is the person, Alexei Navalny, who was the opposition leader. And why was he important for Russia? Because he was one of the major political opponent of Vladimir Putin. So Navalny was an anti-corruption investigator, and therefore he was a danger to Vladimir Putin, and that is why European Union states that they tried to kill them. Right now, who had initiated the sanction? It was initiated by France and Germany. Initially, they both had stated that this is a killing basically which has been done by Russia to whatever their reasons are, they've used nerve agents, as they say. Right, nerve agents, they have capability to escape the protection of international inspectors. Also, they're also called nerve gases. Basically, they are chemicals that can disrupt the nerve transfer of messages. Like, it can bring your body to a still. Right, so it blocks an enzyme which stops the functioning of nerves, and that is what is said to have been used in Navalny. Sanctions on Belarus are not exactly on the leader, but they are basically on 40 Brazilian officials that have been accused of vote rigging and political repression. What is important, another one is European Commission President, the current European Commission President, that is Ursula von der Leyen. She was of IMF. She was the chairperson of International Monetary Fund, which she gave up when she became the president of European Commission. Right, so earlier she was of IMF. Now over here we have Europe's ties with Russia. Now, how is the effect or sanctions on Russia going to impact European Union? That we are going to have a look at over here. So when we look at this fact, just give me one minute. All right, so over here, first of all, Germany is going to be affected because a lot of manufacturing work for Germany was done from a lot of export was with Russia, and main import for Germany was of oil and gas. That is going to be affected. For France, the main import was again oil and gas. Russia is basically a trader of oil and gas, so yes, oil and gas is going to be affected. And defense was exported from France, so it is going to be affected. Oil and gas for Italy, oil and gas for Holland or Netherlands, and oil and gas for Britain. So basically, oil and gas supply of the European Union countries is going to be affected via these sanctions, and cars and agricultural produce and defense and manufacturing, that is one of the factors which are going to be affected. Major affected countries as expected are France, Italy, Germany, Holland and Britain. Right? Moving forward, World Economic Outlook report has been released by IMF, International Monetary Fund. So first question that arises is, who releases World Economic Outlook report? That is released by IMF. Now, according to the report, India's economy will shrink in 2020 by 10.3%. But in 2021, it is going to bounce back with a growth of 8.8%. These predictions are important because they can be asked, because this report is a very important one. World Economic Outlook report is an important one. World Bank report by IMF, these are a report by ADB. These are a few banks whose reports or economic analysis are important for India. Apart from that, on a global scale, contraction of 4.4% will be expected in 2020, and in 2021 the growth will be at 5.2%. Right now, as I told you, Ursula von der Leyen left IMF, or left as MD of IMF. So the new IMF MD was Kristalina Georgieva, and she's again an important question. Right, then chief economist is Geeta Gopinath, an Indian, and headquarters of IMF are in Washington, DC. Right, now a few one-liners. The 7th Ministers of Law and Justice SCO meeting is going to be held virtually, and India is going to host this. So in last video, we had talked about this meeting of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, in which Ravi Shankar Prasad of India, the Law and Justice Minister, he's going to represent India. Who is the host of this meeting? It is India who is the host, and this meeting is going to be held virtually on 16th of October. Apart from that, World Standards Day is observed on 14th of October, and this time the theme is protecting the planet with standards. And the last news event which we're going to cover is the ambassador of India to Kingdom of Netherlands, that is Shri Pradeep Kumar Rawat. He has been appointed as the ambassador of India to the Kingdom of Netherlands. The second thing is, what is the capital of Netherlands? That is Amsterdam. So you must know the capital also. Capital is Amsterdam. Right. With this, we wind up the video for today. That's all for today, the news events, important ones. Thank you so much for being with us. Do like the video, share the video, and do comment on how you like it. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next video. Until then, good luck with your preparation.